Hello and welcome to Justice. I'm Judge Jeanine Pirro. Thanks so much for being with us tonight and happy 4th of July. We're celebrating the holiday with a big show tonight, but first, my open. Every year on July 4th, America celebrates the anniversary of her independence from Great Britain. The reason is addressed in the Declaration of Independence, where it is written that all men are created equal and possess certain unalienable rights, which include life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It was agreed the purpose of government, whose power comes from the consent of the governed, is to secure these rights. So, on this 4th of July, do you feel that your life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are guaranteed by your government? Or do you feel like you're in the middle of another revolution? Every year, Americans celebrate with parades and barbecues and picnics, generally held on bright and sunny summer's day. But this 4th is different. We're being tested in ways that are both unfamiliar and frightening. Dark clouds of hate and anger surround us as Black Lives Matter, Antifa, anarchists who hate America, and leftists, not the government and not us, decide what we should think, what we should say, what we should believe, and what is right and wrong. Calls for the destruction and toppling of historical statues, defunding police departments, occupying and overtaking public and private property, and not just calls, but demands for socialism shock our collective consciousness. As these anarchists destroy property, burn buildings, and loot stores, we pay for the destruction and damage and clean up after them with millions of our taxpayer dollars. And the one line that separates us from complete anarchy, the police, are vilified, demonized, and defunded. Even the Second Amendment is being tested daily. When protesters allegedly destroy and step over a gate to enter a private residential area in St. Louis, committing criminal trespass, there is no police response. The cavalry is not coming. Residents in that gated area left to defend themselves against a mob. The city attorney actually considered prosecuting the McCluskeys for defending themselves and their property with legally registered weapons guaranteed by the Second Amendment. In what America are we prevented from possessing licensed weapons? In what America are we even left to defend ourselves without the police? The answer: in the America the leftists imagine without the police. Now, last weekend, I told you police and EMT responding to a 911 call in the Seattle CHOP area were prevented from reaching a shooting victim. The victim of that shooting, 19-year-old Horace Lorenzo Anderson, was prevented from getting immediate help and medical care by these so-called peaceful protesters who pelted items at the cops. These summer of love haters prevented a young man from getting help. He died. It seemed that 19-year-old Horace's black life didn't seem to matter. Take a listen to his devastated father.
Good evening. This is a Fox News Alert. I'm Jackie Ibanez in New York. Independence Day celebrations are winding down at the White House. President Trump and First Lady Melania are just now coming out on a balcony to view the evening fireworks. Let's take a look.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President's own United States Marine Band will now perform a 4th of July tradition, the 1812 Overture.
All right, and there they are. We're joined now by White House reporter Mark Meredith from the North Lawn there at the White House. Mark, we've been watching the Salute to America, and now the fireworks. It's been just a beautiful tribute there. Tell us, for those of us here in the studio and viewers at home, what's it like to be there on the ground?
Jackie, it is always historic to be on the south lawn of the White House, and it certainly was tonight for the 4th of July. I can also tell you it was very hot. It was about 88 degrees as the president, the first lady, and a couple hundred of their invited guests were there on the south lawn, not only to hear from the president himself, but also to witness that military flyover with dozens of military aircraft that go back for generations and generations. We're talking the Korean War, we're talking about the Gulf War, and those aircraft that are still flying today. It certainly was an impressive sight to see. This is the second Salute to America event the president has hosted since taking office. But as you can see right there, he is there. Also, very interesting to watch the shot of the White House facing the north lawn. You can see it's been lit up in red, white, and blue. We don't see the White House lit up very often, and it really does stand out tonight as the president and the first lady on the other side of the picture of your right, which is going to be on the south lawn as they overlook those hundreds of guests that have been invited. Jackie, we saw first responders, we saw doctors, nurses, in addition to the president's supporters and some VIPs invited to be there for the event. And the president's remarks were certainly interesting. He hit on so many different topics. It's similar to what you would hear from him at a normal either campaign event or a typical presidential event, where he talked about the economy, he talked about the coronavirus pandemic, and how he believes America's best days are still in front of it. Jackie?
What about the COVID precautions? We know that when his last little campaign he had there, they were taking the temperatures, they had masks. What did you see there?
Sure. So just so as we've come to get used to here at the White House, the press, we wear our masks as we're kind of going in and out of different corridors of the West Wing. We saw guests that were out there on the South Lawn. Some of them were wearing masks, not all of them. I was surprised at how many people did choose to wear masks. There was not like a mandate saying that you had to wear one. Social distancing was also encouraged, and we saw people trying to keep their distance the best they can, but they also were pretty much trying to also enjoy the moment. They were talking to each other. The VIPs that were seated right in front of the president, they had some social distancing, but the president also making it very clear in his speech that he believes the U.S. is winning the global war on this pandemic and that the best days for the country in defeating this virus also still lie ahead. Jackie.
Mark Meredith live at the White House tonight. You can see the president and first lady watching the fireworks on this July 4th. I'm Jackie Ibanez here in New York. Now back to justice with Judge Jeanine, already in progress.
Another senior advisor to Joe Biden wants companies to share profits with the community before the shareholders. And on the West Coast, Governor Newsom and Mayor Garcetti have pretty much canceled the 4th of July. No beaches, no restaurants, no bars. Stay home, wear a mask, and just call it a day. All because of the coronavirus. And yet, hospitals aren't overflowing, but you need to be locked down. On the East Coast, Governor Phil Murphy has shut down restaurants scheduled to be open because of the virus. The same in Michigan. Remember when you were prevented from going to church in the blue states? Now you're not going to be able to celebrate your independence. Think about it, your independence on the 4th of July. So it looks like the 4th of July, if you're in a red state, you got a better chance of celebrating. And in a blue state, there's a dark cloud that prevents you from celebrating. After all, Dr. Anthony Fauci says so. We did get good news, though. The job numbers this week, 4.8 million people went back to work. That's almost 5 million families who have some hope, some optimism, and something to look forward to. Remember, our forefathers guaranteed life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If you think anarchy, political correctness, violence, socialism, cancel culture, and hate America is right for you, if you think AOC, Elizabeth Warren, and the ones who hate America and capitalism are going to give you liberty and happiness, then you know who to vote for. But if you're tired of the lack of law and order, if you feel you and not just some bureaucrat should decide you and your family's destiny and what you should decide to say and not to say, the vote for Donald Trump in November won't come soon enough. It's Independence Day. Try to remember how you felt this day when you go to vote. And that's my open. Let me know what you think on my Facebook and Twitter, #Judge Jeanine. And